Hey guys, welcome to Engineering Academy. In this video, we will explore the relationship between time and work completion in project management. The relationship between the time and work completion in a project can be visualized through the S-curve. So what is a S-curve? S-curve is a S-shaped curve. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So the S-curve in a project management is a graphical representation that shows the cumulative progress of work over the time. Which means that in a project, you do the work, you keep doing it, and after certain time, you have accumulated a certain amount of work at the site. And if you measure that work at that particular point of time and you plot the curve for different times, then you will get a curve, and that curve will be that curve will be in the S-shaped, and this happens with almost all the projects. Almost all the projects normally show a typical pattern of project progress, that is slow progress, and after that it's a rapid execution, and then it's a tapering off as the project nears completion, which means that at the start and end of the project normally the works are slow, and in the mid the works are fast. So in the S-curve, if you see, we have got the time in the x-axis. So this is the time axis, and on the y-axis, we have got the work completed. Okay, so how do you measure the time? You can measure the time in days, in weeks, in months, and in years. Normally, you can take in months, okay? And how do you measure the work? So the work you can measure in the volume. But measuring all the works in the volume and then getting the percentage of completion of the work is difficult in terms of the volume. So what we do is that we measure the work in terms of the cost. So how do we do that? For example, you have to do task A. Task A can be digging the foundation. Let's take an example. And the total estimated cost for the task A, that is digging foundation, is, let's say, $100. Okay, and at the end of the day 5 example, you check the cost, you check the amount of work that is done, and you see that you have already done the work of, let's say, $50. Then you say that 50% of the task A is completed. So this is how you measure the task. Okay. And for the overall project, what do? You got the overall estimate, and you have the tasks that you have to do, A, B, C, D, E. So you have done task A for this much money, task B, task C, task D, and you add all these costs, and so sum cost, and you divide by the total cost, and you get the total percentage of the work completed for the project. Now moving on, let us go to the curve again to see the cost and time relationship. Here I have divided the time into 1, 2, 3, and 4 parts, and I have over here divided the work in terms of percentage, that is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So what do we see there? The first milestone, let's say at the 25% of the time, if your project is 1 year long, then 25% of time is 3 months. Okay, so normally we see that at 25% of the time, it's around 15% of the work is done. Okay, though the time is 25%, the work is only 15%. That is why the shape is a little bit flat. It's not a linear relationship. So if it was a linear relationship, then at 25% of the time, the work completed should have been somewhere here, that is 25%, but it's not like that. So why there is a slow progress in the beginning? So it's because there are a lot of things happening. The contractor goes to the site is new, he has to manage a lot of things. For example, he has to mobilize the manpower resources, and he has to set up the camps, and also, you know, he has to start the site clearance, and he has to start the excavation and the foundation works. Normally in this 25% of the time, these many things happen, and they take quite some time: mobilization, excavation, and the foundation works. So normally for a building, if you see, we see that it normally takes 2 to 3 months for a moderate kind of the building, and without any deep foundation, it takes 2 to 3 months to finish the service structure works. Now let us see what happens when the time is at the 50%. So if it's a 1 year project, then let's see what happens at the 6 months time. So if you see over here, then you will see that at the 6 months time period, normally it's 40 to 50% of the work is done. So over here, I'll take the average, that is 45% of the work. Okay. And so if you take a larger window, it will be, so least you have to achieve 40%, and the best you can do is 60% of the work. So it's normally a 40 to 60% window. So I have taken on the lower side, on the safer side. So if you see over here, so from 25 to 50% while going, the time is only 25%. Okay. But the work, if you see, it has gone from 15% to 45%. That's the increase of 30%. So in initial 25%, you only did 15%. In the next 25%, you did the 30% of the work, which means that the project is going on a faster pace. So now moving on, at the 75%, what normally happens is that now your time and cost, they both come into synchronization, which means that at normally 75% of the time, the work done is also 70 to 80%. I'll take the average, that is 75%. So least you have to achieve the 70%, and the best you can do is you can achieve the 80% of the work. And even better, what you can do is that you can go as high as 90% of the work, because from here 25 to reaching here, that is 75%, it's really a good progress. So you see this curve over here, it's not that smooth because I just drew this random curve. Actually the 75% should be somewhere here. Okay. Yes. And now it reaches over here like this, so it goes like 85%. So I was mistaken in the first place, so this is not the correct representation. So this one is a much better representation. So you see the progress is much better. So it has gone from 45 to 75%. So like in the 25% of the time, the work progress is from 45 to, let's say, 85. That's a difference of 40%, you see over there. Okay. So you see that from 25 to 75%, there is a very good progress of the work, and the work is very fast. And you see that in this phase from 25 to 75% of the time, it's where the majority of the project activities take place. So with all the groundworks completed, tasks are performed at an accelerated pace. So efficiency increases as the team gains momentum, and significant deliverables are often produced. Resource allocation and management are crucial to maintaining this pace. So when you see with the 100% of the time, and you see that the 100% of the work is completed. At this phase, what happens is that all the project activities are finalized, and all the deliverables are ensured that they are completed, and the final reviews are also conducted. So documentation, training, and handover process are completed. The project is formally closed, and post-project evaluations are conducted to capture lessons learned. Okay, so this typically happens for a ideal project. So which means that if it's a 1 year project, the project completes exactly in 1 year. But that normally doesn't happen. Either the project completes ahead of its time, or it completes later than the projected time. Okay, then what we do is that, so normally when you start the project, then you have got a time schedule that you tell to the client that within this much of time I'll achieve this thing. So you got a baseline S curve, so you call it a baseline S curve, and as the project progresses, you plot your new S curve. Okay, let me just draw this with a different line, and it is either on the above side, which means that you are doing good in terms of the work progress, or it's below the baseline curve, okay, which means that you are not doing that good. So either way, it can be like this, and then it can be like this. It can be anything. It depends on how you are executing the project. These are the different things, and we'll talk about these things in our other video. So this much for this video. I hope it's clear to you how a relationship exists between the time and the cost. It's a typical relationship and not a hard and fast rule. And this will, as a thumb rule, help you to track the progress of the project and see if your project is lagging behind or ahead of the time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you in the next video.